Hello my dear friends, you're in the middle of a summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where the most important update is coming from the area of the city of Konstantinovka. According to the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, according to the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, according to the President of the Russian Federation, the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the city of Konstantinovka. This was announced yesterday in the evening on the 3rd of July of 2026, and Russians published a video where we can see dozens of flags raised through the city. The battle for Konstantinovka started a very long time ago, and today, on the 4th and the 3rd of July of 2026, the Russians finished this battle. The President of Russia stated that the city of Konstantinovka is one of the most important areas that the Russians managed to take under complete control. Basically, this is a key region before the beginning of the battle for the Slavyansk-Drushkovka agglomeration. Furthermore, the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation have already reported that first sabotage and reconnaissance groups of the Armed Forces of Russia entered the settlement of Alexeyevka-Drushkovka, and the clashes began for this territory. Now let's take a look at the changes. So once again, this is the city of Konstantinovka. The battle for this territory once again started a long time ago. Let's take a look at the map at the 31st of December of 2026. So this is the map on the 31st of December of 2025, and this is probably the beginning, almost the beginning of the battle for the city. The Russians, by the end of the December of 2025, established complete control over the most southeastern part of the city of Konstantinovka. We're talking about the Starое Selo micro-district and Santurinovka micro-district. So, and this is the picture, and this is the configuration almost 6 months ago. And now this is the situation by the beginning of the 4th of July of 2026. And as you can see, the Russians during the previous 6 months managed to establish complete control over the city, and the Russians continue advancing. So this is the situation, and this is one of the biggest and the most important battles of this special military operation, because as the President of Russia stated, this battle, this city opens the way further in the northwestern direction towards the Drushkovka-Slavyansk agglomeration from the southeast. And once again, these are the changes on the ground between the previous days, between the final dates of the battle for the city. This is the end of the 3rd of July of 2026, right before the Russians reported about complete control over the territory, and this is the beginning of the 4th of July of 2026. The battle for the city of Konstantinovka has ended, and furthermore the battle has ended, and we have a video with flags, as we have already discussed this and watched this video minutes ago, and at least 2 flags were geolocated through the most northern parts of the settlement, through the micro-district of Chervony. So this is the area where one of the flags was geolocated, and this in the second area. As for the flags, we still haven't received even a single flag through the most northwestern parts of the city, through the Novoselovka micro-district, but telling the truth, I have no doubts that this territory either under complete Russian control or in the gray zone where nobody, neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians, have strong control, but the Russians continue advancing, and sooner or later this territory would be taken by Russians as well. So this is the situation. Furthermore, according to the Chief of the General Staff, the Russians, as I told you, entered the settlement of Alexeyevka-Drushkovka, and probably the Russians continue advancing through the northeastern parts of the city, through these territories between the cities of Konstantinovka and Alexeyevka-Drushkovka. And the city of Konstantinovka and the end of the battle for the city of Konstantinovka is a significant media victory for Russians. And what does it mean? Very simple. I would like to remind you that during the next days we'll see the NATO summit on the territory of Turkey in Ankara, where the NATO representatives will come and will meet with the President of Ukraine, Zelensky. And today we received the report that the European countries promised to provide Ukrainians additional assistance in value of 17 billion euro, and they're planning to do the same, to give Ukraine the same money during the next year of the 2027s. So that is why the Russians shown us this victory over the city of Konstantinovka, just to show a significant media victory and to show that the Ukrainians don't have strong cards. So once again, the city of Konstantinovka, the battle was a very important media victory, so that is why Zelensky understands, and he understood that that he needed a media victory as well, also before the beginning of the NATO Ankara NATO summit. So that is why between the 3rd and the 7th of July of 2026, the Ukrainians launched a massive attack in the direction of the central part of the Russian Federation, just with the purpose to create a media picture, a media victory, and to show at least something on the Ankara NATO summit. The sources reported that during the night the Ukrainians used more than 300 drones. So this was stated by pro-Ukrainian sources. As for the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, they reported that during the previous 24 hours the Russians destroyed around 600 of drones of the armed forces of Ukraine. As for the overnight part, the Russians brought down 389 drones of the armed forces of Ukraine. The Ukrainians were attacking three territories of Russia. One of the cities that was attacked by the Ukrainians was the city of Belgorod, and we have lots of videos on this matter. And as you can see, the Ukrainians, as a result of attack, destroyed an object of energy infrastructure. More precisely, several objects of energy infrastructure were hit by the Ukrainians, and several of them were damaged. And as you can see, the damage was significant. Furthermore, right after the Ukrainians attacked the city of Belgorod, the blackout occurred. In this video, we can see the city of Belgorod a few seconds before the Ukrainians attacked the city, and before the Ukrainians attacked an object of energy infrastructure. And right exactly when this happened, we can see a blackout occurred. Furthermore, the Ukrainians were trying to hit deep inside of the territory of Russia, and the Ukrainians were trying to hit the settlement of Votkins. And during this morning, lots of videos were published by local sources with the drones or missiles of Flamingo type flying in the direction of the city by the name of Votkins. And I would like to point your attention and to remind you that the city of Votkins is one of the most important cities because the Russians produce Iskander missiles right exactly on the territory of this military enterprise. But the thing is that every single missile of FP Flamingo type was brought down and intercepted by Russians. So when talking about attack, when talking about another attack deep inside of the territory of Russia, this attack didn't bring any results to the Ukrainians. Another attack took place in the direction of the northern parts of Russia, and this time the Ukrainians were attacking the city of St. Petersburg. The Ukrainians were trying to hit the Petersburg oil terminal, and according to information we have, as a result of attack, the Ukrainians managed to hit and maybe even to damage one of the tankers on the territory of this terminal. In this video, we can see drones flying in this area, and as a result of attack, we have pictures published by local sources where we can see a black smoke over the Peters terminal, and as we can see, as a result of attack, probably indeed the Ukrainians managed to hit one or two tanks with fuel or with oil. But telling the truth, despite the fact that the Ukrainians used 400 of drones during the overnight attack, we see that the results are minimal. When talking about the central part of Russia, everything was destroyed. When talking about the territory along the line of combat contact, it was expected that the Ukrainians would be able to hit because the distance is too small for the Russian air defense forces. And as for the territory of St. Petersburg, today we received reports that the Ukrainians once again were attacking this terminal from the territory of the Gulf of Finland, because according to information we have, the Finnish military authorities were forced to use aircrafts to patrol the territory around the city of Helsinki and around the Gulf of Finland, which means that probably once again the Ukrainians were using not the territory of Russia to attack the territory of Russia. Maybe the drones were launched from somewhere else. So which means that this attack also didn't bring the results that the Ukrainians most likely expected. Now let's return back to Ukraine. Lots of very interesting strikes and attacks were published during the previous night. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine this morning reported that the Russians used 88 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine, and once again the Russians were attacking mainly logistics and objects of energy infrastructure. And as we discussed during the previous video, after the end of the first fuel war and the second phase of the fuel war, the Russians shift their focus in the direction of the territory between between the cities of Odessa and Zaporizhzhia. And during the previous 12 hours, we received lots of videos of how the Russians were attacking different objects on this territory. For example, the city of Kherson, to the north of the city, the Russians destroyed this enterprise, and these pictures were published by different sources. Here we can see the video of how the fire crews of Ukraine were trying to extinguish the fire right after the Russians attacked this territory. As you can see, according to this video, most of these barracks were reduced to ruins as a result of the Russian attack. Moving further, in this video we can see a gas station. This is a very interesting video published by pro-Russian sources. This is a mobile gas station. So the Ukrainians, due to a shortage of gas stations along the line of combat contact, began using mobile gas stations, and the Russians began hunting and attacking them and destroying them. And in this video probably we can see the first video since the beginning of the fuel war, when the Russians were attacking mobile gas stations of Ukraine. Moving further, the city of Zaporizhzhia, the Russians continue attacking the city of Zaporizhzhia. The Russians continue attacking logistics. We have lots of videos where we can see more trucks destroyed along the main roads between Nikopol, Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia and the city of Kryvyi Rog. The Russians destroyed another fuel storage or oil storage on the territory of the city of Zaporizhzhia in its northwestern parts, and in this video we can see fuel tanks that were destroyed by Russians as a result of attack with drones. In this video we can see the consequences of attack. Here, as you can see, big fire broke out right after the Russians attacked this territory. As for the eastern parts of the city of Zaporizhzhia, we received the video that the Russians destroyed another fuel tanker, two more fuel tanks on the territory of the eastern parts of the city, and right after the Russians attack, black smoke broke out from this territory. And the Russians attacked another logistic hub, the Novopochta terminal. In this video we can see how the Russians were attacking this logistic hub with drones. As a result of attack, a fire broke out. So the Russians continue attacking the Zaporizhzhia direction, the city of Zaporizhzhia, because the Russians continue their offensive in this area, and it seems that the Russians are about to breach Ukraine's defenses. Moving further, and let's discuss the situation along the northern directions. The most important updates and the biggest number of updates are coming from the northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. For example, this is the end of the 3rd of July of 2026, and this is the beginning of the 4th of July of 2026. And according to these changes, and according to the Group of Forces North, and according to the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation, the Russians of the Group of Forces North managed to establish complete control over two villages. The village of Zimlyany Yar, which is already a part of the Belaya Kolodez agglomeration, and the Russians finished the battle for the settlement of Losivka. So, according to these changes, we can say that the Russians managed to breach Ukraine's defenses, and the battle for the northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region has begun. We're talking about the battle for the settlement of Belaya Kolodez. So this is a very, very difficult situation for the armed forces Ukraine. Just yesterday we discussed that the Ukrainians announced the mandatory evacuation through this territory, especially to the south of the northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region. Yesterday the Group of Forces North had already stated that the battle began on the approaches of the settlement of Belaya Kolodez, which means that in coming days we'll start receiving first updates from the settlement of Belaya Kolodez itself. If this city falls, then the Ukrainians most likely would not be able to stabilize the situation anytime soon, and they would be forced to fall back from the entire northeastern parts of the Kharkiv region further in the southern direction towards the settlements of Veliki Burluk and Shevchenkova. The situation here, as you can see, remains very difficult for the armed forces of Ukraine. And that's it for the short video. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.